Hey guys, PDC here, and we're going to be doing the second game of the Smogon Tour series. BKC versus Budush, Game 2, Black and White. Let's get it started in here and start the replay. So, Budush is going to lead with a Garchomp. Now, Garchomp could definitely be a Draco Meteor variant, it could be a Swords Dance variant, but if he leads with Garchomp, that probably means he's going to have Stealth Rock on there one way or another. BKC goes for a Toxic on his Gliscor, and that immediately cripples Garchomp. This means that either Garchomp is not going to be able to round for too long. I did not see the teams, so we'll have to notice if Garchomp's a big threat or not. Although with Gliscor around, it is probably not going to be too huge. BKC turns out to be Sub-Toxic variant, and the Sub-Toxic variant of Gliscor is extremely dangerous, but Amoonguss is immune to poison, so he's not going to be affected by Toxic, and he has HP Ice, and Earthquake's not going to be able to do too much, so Amoonguss is pretty much going to be able to stop this Gliscor pretty well, and he's pretty much going to be pressuring BKC into getting subs, and I don't think BKC would like to stay on this guy, and of course, it's very dangerous as well if he switches out, because if Budush predicts correctly, he could get a quick off Stun Spore, or just a regular Spore, and cripple someone with Paralysis, or to sleep, so that could be a pretty big issue, and then when it ties to teams BKC runs, this could definitely be a pretty big issue for this other brain balance or something like that. So, we're going to see what he's going to do here. BKC is obviously going to take a little time. Going to speed this up just a bit. Looks like BKC is going to do the same sequence and substitute again. Sub and Protect, get back to 100% health, and he goes out to his Tentacruel. Now, Budush does the same thing, and he switches out, and he goes into his Scizor. Now, Scizor is not a favorable matchup against Tentacruel. A burn could cripple Scizor for the rest of the game and pretty much render it useless. BKC is probably going to go into Tentacruel just to get rid of the rocks. I do not know if Budush has a spinner or not. I would guess he doesn't just by looking at the type of team he has so far already. So he goes for the Scald instead. He'll probably follow it up with maybe a Switch or a Spin, because I don't think he wants Tentacruel Slept or Stun Spored. So, the burn, yeah, would have been very helpful if that burn. That could definitely put Amoonguss in a hard spot, and being Gliscor could definitely do a lot more damage to Budush's team. Although, at Scizor, if you're switching a Scizor and a sub-toxic variant of Gliscor anyway, that probably means your Swords Dance anyway. But Budush does a great move here, and he goes for the Stun Spore, and he paralyzes Kyurem. Kyurem is a huge threat against most teams, especially Rain Balance, or light offensive teams, or balance or bulky teams. Although I don't really think it would be too amazing against Budush, simply because he has that Scizor, and because of the way Budush was playing it, it'd be pretty easy to assume that it is a Roost SD variant. I don't believe that would be some really pure offensive variant. I definitely believe Budush would invest quite a bit in bulk in that thing. So BKC is probably going to go for the spin straight up now. He could Scald again and hope for another little burn on the Amoonguss and maybe try to cripple it, although with Rocks Away, that will definitely be helpful because that means Kyurem can switch into Amoonguss much more often. Although BKC really needs to get the hazards up on his side too. So he's going to go for the spin as Budush brings back in Garchomp. Now Garchomp could Earthquake and send Tentacruel away. I don't think BKC wants to risk that. And of course this could promote a switch, which could easily mean Budush is going to get his rocks up again. And he does instead go for a prediction that kills kills BKC's Ferrothorn with a clean, nice and clean Fire Blast. Now that definitely is going to affect BKC in the future. Now the crit, I believe that crit did matter. It probably would have done around 80% instead. I don't believe it's Oko, but it definitely would have hurt him pretty badly. So Ferrothorn's out of the game with that nice and clean prediction by Budush. Budush is really on top of predicting here, but that didn't lead him to victory in the last match, and he had a very crucial prediction double switch. So that Fire Blast is going to take out Ferrothorn, and BKC brings in his Politoed. Now, I believe this is probably going to be able to scare Budush away. If this is a Scarf Toad, that could easily kill Garchomp. Garchomp cannot KO it back unless it has a Dragon Gem Outrage, which I don't think would even KO Physically Defensive variant. Overall, just a bad situation for Budush, so he's probably going to switch out here. Probably going to go to Amoonguss or something like that. If it's Specs, Specs Ice Beam could do over 60% to Amoonguss. I'm pretty sure that might be a specially defensive version, so maybe we'll lean on about 55%. But I have a feeling this is not the Specs variant, simply because I know the team BKC is using from World Cup. I believe he modified it a little, but I don't remember exactly what it was. It's one of BKC's favorite teams and an extremely hard team to combat. So BKC is going to go out to his Gliscor instead, and it turns out that Budush is going to return with Scizor. Scizor is obviously not going to be able to cleanly break through Tentacruel, but BKC has to go to Tentacruel anyway, simply because of the threat that it is probably a bulky variant. Now, there's a chance this is Acrobatics SD Scizor, and that could clean up and finish the game right here. That could be the very end of BKC right now. This could be the end of the game right here. As a +2 Acrobatics Flying Gym Scizor, if it gets, if it does not get burned, that's a clean hit on Tentacruel. And although I don't believe it OHKOs, if it's Jolly, if it's Adamant, that could definitely be a clean one-hit kill. I forget the exact EDs on Acrobatic Scizor. I have not used it in a very long time. It had a very good heyday in, I think, the first couple of rounds in World Cup, but then people stopped using it. So, Budush is gonna, he's just gonna switch out, and he goes out to his Chomp again, take the Scald. Now, BKC could stay in here. He would probably live in Earthquake. That would mean Budush could not get up Rocks, but BKC really does not want Rocks up on his side, and it looks like Budush lacks a anti-spinner. But I don't think BKC, it's wise to risk it for him here. So he's just going to go straight out to his Gliscor. Gliscor is going to be able to handle Garchomp pretty nicely, so we'll just have to see what Budush decides to do. If I were BKC, I would just go for either Protect here. I probably would not want to risk it. You don't really have too much to gain or to lose. Just let it die from a poison. Yeah, poison. So, pretty much, I personally would have protected there, would have fixed, at least a 35% HP. Budush brings in a Rotom Wash. This looks a lot like one of his, I think, a team he used against Fakes, although I can't quite remember. I know it had a Rotom Wash on it, and I don't know why, but I think it has a very similar build. But BKC obviously is not going to be able to stay in here. He could go for a Toxic, but unless Budush gets a Hydro Pump Miss, he's not getting anywhere. BKC gets a little HP back. Gliscor is not too affected by Stealth Rock, thanks to Poison Heal. But he does go for the sub, and Budush predicts wrong, expecting BKC to switch, and goes for the Volt Switch. So BKC goes for the Earthquake, predicting Scizor to come in on the Toxic. Scizor roots up. This is obviously where we can tell that this is indeed a bulky Swords Dance Scizor. I believe it listed it had leftovers. Yes, it did. So that means it does not have a Lumberry. It cannot have a Flying Gem. No Acrobatics. It cannot break through Tentacruel unless it evades a burn and hits it with something like a +4 Bug Bite, Bullet Punch combination, which is very unlikely considering how lucky a move Scald is. Now, Budush, although he doesn't have a clean way to break through BKC's team, I definitely believe he has the advantage. I believe we still have some unrevealed Pokemon here. We have Scizor, we have Fainted Garchomp with Stealth Rocks, we have a Moongus, we have a Rotom Wash, and we also have another unrevealed Pokemon. So we'll have to see. Either one of those two Pokemon could be easily strong breakers that could rip through BKC's team with Ferrothorn gone. That opens up a huge hole for Dragons. BKC, however, does get the spin-off, and that means no hazards on BKC's side no matter what, unless it doubles Stealth Rocker or something really gimmicky like that. But anyway, he goes for the spin, hazards off BKC's side of the field, and burden is lifted. And turns out, Budush has a Tyranitar to change the weather. Now this, with Ferrothorn down, if this is a Choice Band Tyranitar, this could be Budush's way of destroying BKC's team. He goes for the switch, and now Budush has a huge amount of control on BKC. Without Rain, Tentacruel cannot confidently switch into Tyranitar at all. Although it's Choice Band, it really shouldn't be doing that anyway, but BKC only has to guess. This has to be either a Scarfed or Banded Tyranitar. Although it could be something like a mixed variant with Ice Beam too, that's very possible. Could be a Sash one, since Sash Tyranitar is rather popular, but I wouldn't expect Budush to use a set like that. If he did though, that would be a little better, because then Tentacruel could handle it. But Tyranitar, due to its ride, move, versatility, it could be anything, and Choice Band would probably be the worst here. With Rocks no longer on the field, it does mean Gliscor can probably take a hit, but being it's sub-toxic, it's faster and probably does not invest as much in bulk. So we'll have to see where this leads us here. A Choice Band Tyranitar could be very dangerous for BKC, and looking at his team with Ferrothorn gone, that was a beautiful play by Budush to eliminate one of the CBTAR's counters, knowing CBTAR could do a huge amount of damage early game. this could be a quick breakthrough for Budush. And this could easily mean that this is going to put him at a huge advantage. And because BKC, I don't believe he has a hazard layer with Ferrothorn dead, this could mean, unless he has something else that could lay hazards, but this could mean that this is the very end for BKC already, because a CB Tyranitar would be one of the worst possible things for BKC to play. We're going to speed this up a little, wait till the next move. BKC is taking his time, obviously. Doesn't have many switch-ins for this, and he decides to go to Gliscor, which takes a whopping 64%. Luckily, though, a Substitute Protect can easily outsell the Stone Edge, which leaves Budush empty-handed. But a weakened Gliscor is not good. If Budush happens to have something like a fighting type here, like a Swords Dance Terrakion in the wings, I believe we still have one unrevealed Pokemon. Yes, we do. That could be the easy and quick finish against BKC. Tentacruel, of course, could win, but if it's like Rock Gem or something like that, that could be pretty bad for BKC. A Rock Gem Stone Edge would easily clean up Tentacruel, and a Choice Band Tyranitar is a great breaker for something like Terrakion to follow up on, especially on sand. So we'll have to see where this goes. Budush is taking his time. BKC is probably taking his. Although I'm pretty sure that Budush would not risk anything like here, and it's obviously would switch out. So BKC is pretty much in a hole here. Scizor is definitely going to keep pressure on Gliscor. Tentacruel is pretty much in overdrive here, as pretty much Tentacruel can't really beat Tyranitar, and if he keeps Gliscor this week, this could be a guaranteed KO for Budush. So we're going to speed this up here, not too much to talk about. Budush will probably either Swords Dance or Roost, and looks like he's going to go for the Swords Dance as BKC brings in Toad, hopefully to aid Tentacruel in combating the Scizor. Going to speed this up a little again, because we know these turns are rather simple. And I guess Budush thought that it would be an Encore move, and it is. And he switches out into a Moongus, takes nothing from the Encore, because obviously no moves have been made yet. BKC is going to be obviously forced out, and pretty much makes a decent enough play. BKC goes to Gliscor, predicting a pursuit from the Tyranitar. Budush is probably going to be forced out again. He doesn't want to be brought into a fight that he basically cannot win. Again, speeding this up. BKC is going to go for the sub, probably going to heal up a little extra health here with Sub Protect. BKC is going in the circle. Budush is definitely taking his time with the 2 as well. Gets back up to 51%. Still not quite enough, though, to absorb a Choice Banded Stone Edge. This could be pretty dangerous for BKC. Trying to weaken that Amoonguss, but the Regenerator is going to keep him on top of his shape. Looks like BKC is probably going to go for a another Protect here. Pretty much just to get the health back up. This game is turning into a pretty big circle. We're on turn 31, and although not too many Pokemon are really that weak on either side, there is a definite advantage on Budush's side. Speed this up yet again. It looks like Scizor is going to come back in the same cycle, and Budush is finally going to go for the Bug Bite to get at least some damage on that Tentacruel, hopefully to weaken it later. Rotom Wash is going to come in. It's not going to get the burn. A burn would have been pretty nice there, but I don't really know how badly that would have affected Budush. Definitely would have been annoying with the Protect combination, especially with Gliscor. We'll have to see how this works out. Now, if we look at BKC's team, I don't see him winning this. He has one more unrevealed, and that could be a sweeper, and BKC could be trying to get it in on a safe spot just to set it up. But with a team like Budush's, which is varied, I don't believe there's one set Pokemon that would be able to finish it off. BKC is pretty much sacking Tentacruel here. And we finally get Budush's unrevealed and Stoutland. BKC is Tentacruel's weak, and this could open up a sweep for something like Scizor. We still do not know BKC's last, so that could be a Scizor check, but with Tentacruel weak enough, I really wouldn't put too much pressure on Tentacruel to stop any sort of Scizor sweep. Of course, something like Politoed could, but being a bulky Scizor, he can only Encore and hold him off for so long. And this Stoutland is definitely going to put some pressure. If this is Choice Band Return, he could be a pretty nice cleaner up. A Return is not something anything on BKC's team wants to take. Even the bulky Gliscor takes around 45 to 50% from a Choice Banded Return. This could be pretty big here. He could have an Aura Resistance somewhere in the wings, we'll have to see. So BKC is going to go for Protect and Scout, and he's going to go to Gliscor. Like I said, he's going to take about 40 to 50%. Takes 49. BKC might not be able to stop this with his Gliscor alone. So BKC is obviously looking for a pretty quick solution to this. And he goes out to his Politoed, which is probably Scarf, judging from the damage to revenge it. I do not think Budush would even try to risk this Stoutland dying. Probably going to go to something like Rotom Wash to handle it instead. We'll see how it goes. Rotom Wash, and Amoonguss. Amoonguss is probably the much more reliable Pokemon to handle this. I would definitely keep Stoutland alive, just by the damage it is doing to BKC's team. And he does go for another return. I personally would have just went out to Amoonguss. BKC probably expected him to switch or something like that to Amoonguss, and get the Jirachi set up. If that did work in BKC's favor, that double switch, that could have been a pretty decent point for BKC to start for turning this game around. Now, judging from BKC's team, I would guess his Jirachi is probably a Calm Mind variant. Leftovers aids that thought, and I'm pretty sure BKC's only chance of winning this game is for a Calm Mind Jirachi sweep. He goes for a Thunder. If it paralyzed, that could help start out and help him. It does not paralyze, however, and Tyranitar is definitely going to put a stop to this Jirachi. We'll see if BKC stays in to hopefully get another para. And he does, but it misses. And looks like Tyranitar is in a huge advantage. BKC's team is finally breaking apart here in black and white. So we'll have to see how that's going to lead to him. I don't think BKC has even a chance to win this game. Although the saying of shake it up, where there's a Jirachi, there's a way. I don't know how well it's going to hold up in this match right here. Looks like the game is pretty much coming to a close. Goes to Amoonguss, goes for the Spinal Switch, and hopes for a couple of Thunder Paralysis, but nothing comes. CB Tyranitar goes on a tear, breaks up Gliscor, goes back to Politoed to put a final deal of damage and hopefully scare out Tyranitar. It's obvious that BKC has pretty much no chance at winning this now with a black and white game, and this looks like it's going to be the turning point, and this is going to probably lead to obviously it's going to lead to a third game. And this looks like BKC's going to tie it up at 1-1. Budush has a chance in this, definitely. We'll have to see what they bring for Diamond and Pearl. No chance BKC can win this unless some extreme hacks happens, but I don't even believe that's even possible at this point. But it looks like this is just about the end here, and looks like BKC is going to lose Game 2. And there it is, a pretty late paralysis. Maybe if that happened on Tyranitar the first time, the game could have been turned around, but I kind of doubt that. BKC had a pretty bad team matchup, and I don't really think there was any way he could have easily won that match. So anyway, that was the black and white game. Diamond and Pearl game will be uploaded next. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.